Coming up on today's show, we're going to look at some new draft targets for the Broncos following Jimmy Garoppolo's injury, which remember, the Broncos have the 49ers first round pick, not the Dolphins. So with Jimmy G going down, that should bode well for, hey, maybe the Broncos are going to get a better pick if Brock Purdy and the Niners start losing games. So welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here. Starting the show off with this from Adam Schefter about 30 minutes before we started filming. Doctors concluded today that 49ers QB Jimmy Garoppolo does not need foot surgery. It is not Liz Frank, yada, 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 7 to 8 weeks. How is he going to come back and play in the playoffs in 7 to 8 weeks? 8 weeks from right now is the Super Bowl week. If the Niners are in the Super Bowl, they are not yanking Brock Purdy, who at this point probably would have gone on one of the most spectacular runs in quarterback play since Nick Foles, to go to Jimmy G, who's got a pretty bad statistical record in the playoffs. But that's for the Niners channel to discuss. Let's talk about the Broncos here, because the current draft order right now does not have Denver top 10, right? Their pick, which belongs to Seattle, currently sits at number 3. So Denver right now is not on the clock until the Niners at number 25. The Giants are at 24. The Broncos are at 25. Then the Ravens, the Bengals. This is going to change. We're entering week 14 of the season. Still a lot of wins and losses to be had out there. But if Brock Purdy and the Niners, they drop a couple games, they exit the first round of the playoffs, that's a lot better than where they are right now at number 25. This could slide all the way towards 18 or maybe even as low as 16 or 15 if they really start to stumble. Now, the Broncos' biggest needs in my eyes, it's offensive line, right? That's what we're all thinking here. And this video is going to be pretty much dominated by offensive line. But I do think running back is important to include too. Not in the first, the second, the third, the fourth, any early round like that. But who is going to be the week 1 starter at running back for Denver? Probably not Latavius Murray. Probably not anyone on the roster. So curious to see what they do to find someone to fill in for Javonte Williams until he returns. I also wanted to include best player available because I just want to plug, if you don't know, go the best player available route. May not be a need right now, but in 2-3 seasons, you'll be happy you took someone who you thought was actually good versus, well, we don't really like him, but we surely do need a safety. All right, whatever. Let's move on to some draft targets. Coming from Evanston, Illinois, that is Northwestern's left tackle, Peter Skoronski. So in my eyes, Skoronski is the best tackle in this draft class, which doesn't get me very jazzed up that he's going to fall all the way to wherever the Niners finish. This is the dream pick for the Broncos. Don't set your sights on him because there's a good chance he goes top 10. This draft class is not loaded like last year's was with Evan Neal and Charles Cross, Ike Mekwonu all going in the top 10. Probably not going to happen in this class. But if Skoronski starts to slip, because that happens in the draft process, what we think is going to look like in December never translates to April. Remember Trayvon Walker, first round pick last year, first overall? No one was even talking about him first round this time last year. So things do change. The only hiccup I have, though, is he plays left tackle for Northwestern, and the Broncos need a right tackle. Garrett Bowles is not going to be ready week 1, 2. He's going to probably start on the pup list next year. But does Denver move him to right tackle and try to finally find a franchise right tackle, which they have been chasing for a decade? The Broncos have to go tackle in round 1. If Skoronski's on the board, you take him and you figure out where you want to play him later. The big boards for all of the big draft websites out there, they've got him either ranked number 1 or number 2. And we'll talk about the guy who may be ahead of him in some eyes, not in mine. PFF, number 1. ESPN, 2. CBS, 1. Pro Football Network, 2. So pretty evenly split between 1 or 2. In my opinion, he's number 1. But it is interesting to note that he is a left tackle, and Denver doesn't need a left tackle as long as Garrett Bowles is there, which could be a midseason move. We'll talk about that probably in a couple of months here. All right. Now, today's Broncos breakdown is brought to you by Fetch, the free app that allows you to scan your receipts and earn points that can be redeemed for gift cards to your favorite stores, restaurants, and online retailers. It's super easy to use. You use the app to snap a photo of your receipts from purchases from any store, or click the e-receipt option that Fetch can connect to your Amazon account, and you'll earn points on all shipped orders. Plus, connect your email to earn points for every e-receipt you receive from Uber, Instacart, or any other purchases you make online. Those points can be redeemed for gift cards at your favorite stores and restaurants. Fetch is available on iPhone and Android. Use our link, chatsports.com/fetch. Enter promo code CHAT at sign up, and you'll get 5,000 bonus points when you scan your first receipt. That is the equivalent of a $5 free gift card. It's a free app, and those 5,000 bonus points is only for a limited time. So get started now. Chatsports.com/fetch and enter promo code CHAT. The link is also in the comments and the description of today's show. All right, let's move on to some more draft targets. So we started with Peter Skoronski. Let's zig when everyone else is zagging. What about Hendon Hooker? What about a quarterback? I know this is going to be the most jarring name on screen because Denver doesn't need a quarterback. They are married to Russell Wilson. Yes, but Hendon Hooker might be appealing to George Paton if he decides, you know what? We don't see Russell Wilson turning his play around. And maybe we should get a quarterback now to sit for a year. And if we plan on moving on from Russell Wilson after next year, which probably is unlikely, but if Hooker is just too good to pass on in George Paton's eyes, this could be in play as one of those shocking picks like Jordan Love for the Packers that no one saw coming, right? We're good for those every 1, 2, 3 seasons. And when Lamar went to the Ravens, when Love went to the Packers, no one really forecasted that. What if Hooker is that guy this year for the Broncos? Now, I should note, he is coming off an ACL injury. He's also turning 25 in January. He's unlikely to play at all next season because he tore his ACL in November. So if it's a year recovery, that puts him coming back right around this time next year. And if they want to sit him, I doubt they want to throw in a rookie QB coming off an ACL injury for the last 3 games of the season. So he would be really a 26-year-old rookie quarterback. That's approaching Brandon Weeden territory. But the guy's awesome. He went to my alma mater. I love watching him on Saturdays, so you might sense some bias here. An absolute Heisman snub. But look what he did in 2022 for the Tennessee Volunteers. 3,100 yards through the air. He also added on plenty on the ground. 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Remember when Hackett and Justin Outen said, hey, we're going to score a lot of points. We're going to push the ball downfield. Well, that's what Hooker actually did this year at Tennessee. If you watch any of Tennessee football, you knew that Hooker has some great downfield accuracy. His time at Rocky Top was phenomenal. 58 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. That is an absolute insane ratio. I mean, that is better than Peyton Manning's ratio at Tennessee. Hendon Hooker is going to be an interesting pick wherever he goes this year, in whatever round he goes, because he's a bit older and he's coming off an ACL injury. But I do believe whatever team gets him is going to like what they have in him. Now, let me know this. Should the Broncos draft a quarterback? Should they just decide, you know what? There's no turning around Russ. We have to get out of him, away from him, as soon as we financially can, which means maybe we draft a quarterback this year, sit him for a year, so that when we move on from Russ, if they go that route, we've got a guy in the wings sort of ready to step into that role. Let me know in the comments section below. All right, next draft target. We go back to the offensive line. It's Paris Johnson from Ohio State. Remember how I said Peter Skoronski is the number 1 or number 2 tackle? Well, if he's number 2, Paris Johnson is number 1. Skoronski, in my eyes, is number 1, but Johnson is 1A then, right? These two guys are neck and neck in terms of where they are in big boards for offensive tackles. Now, he has played both right and left tackle at Ohio State. This year, we got Hendon Hooker stuff up there. We'll throw Paris Johnson's on in a moment here, but Paris Johnson last year played at left tackle or right tackle, moved to left tackle or vice versa, whatever. He's done both sides of the offensive line. So it is a bit valuable to find someone when you need a right tackle more than a left tackle that's got experience at both. Pro Football Focus, in case you're wondering, has him graded at 83.4. If you're not familiar with the nerds at PFF, that's really good. All right, what about interior offensive line? How about O'Cyrus Torrence from Florida? Transferred from Louisiana to Gainesville, and he has been a mauler on the interior offensive line for the Gators. Torrence has been unstoppable in some ways. In my opinion, this would be the pick if Denver does not re-sign Dalton Reisner, and most likely Skoronski and Paris Johnson have been taken, and they need a new guard or maybe even a new center. The Broncos could reshuffle a little bit, right? You could move Quinn Miners to center if they're kind of done with Lloyd Cushenberry, and now you need a left and a right guard. Even if you bring Reisner back, Torrence, in my eyes, if he's picked to Denver, he is starting day one. He's also the number 1 ranked guard in this draft class, so definitely some food for thought. And my final target is Broderick Jones out of Athens, Georgia. This is the more likely pick if Denver wants to go tackle. I don't envision Skoronski or Johnson falling all the way to the Broncos, but really falling all the way to the Niners. And if the Niners start to stack up some losses with Brock Purdy and start, slipping on the draft board, if Skoronski or Johnson can't fall to them, look for Broderick Jones, right? This is plan C right here. Now, he was the number 1 recruit at a point in time in 2020 going to Georgia. He plays left tackle, so sort of like Skoronski, would probably have to move to right tackle when Garrett Bowles returns from his broken leg, but Bowles is not going to be ready week 1, so you got to find some starter for your left and right tackle position, okay? Because the offensive line depth chart right now is pretty, right? Anderson and Fleming, I could see them bringing Fleming back, but that's probably about it. In fact, we can even look at the 2023 projected offensive line and see how that is shaping up for you guys here. But first, we're going to ask this question. Who do you want the Broncos to draft, right? Who do you want Denver ultimately to write onto the name card? Let me know in the comments section below. Let's go back to the offensive line, though. Let's put on screen the current makeup or projection for the 2023 offensive line for the Broncos, okay? Right now, the depth chart looks like this, but we can find the current my projected 2023 offensive line starters for the Denver Broncos because they've got holes at left guard, left tackle. It's all over the place, okay? And so with that being said, they definitely have some shoes to fill moving forward. All right. Appreciate everyone for clicking on to today's show. If you have not subscribed already, please go ahead and do so. Click that big red button. Join the fastest growing Broncos YouTube community out there. We're going to keep you guys plugged in on everything that's going on with the Broncos. We also have nearly 11,000 strong here at the channel. So make sure to subscribe. Join our Broncos family. Going to sign off. See you guys later with more Broncos news and rumors.